Welcome back to the channel for another install on our 22 WRX. As you can see, we already got the car jacked up. We're getting prepped for our tune with Mikey Botti. So currently I have the car jacked up in the air because the last part we need to get on is our P&L Jpipe. The P&L Jpipe should be here today. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the game. I got the car jacked up and I got the skid plate off. Let me show you what we're doing right now to get this Jpipe off. All right, so looking under the car, you can see our ETS intake. You can see our stock Jpipe all the way down, connecting to our NVIDIA catback. So we're gonna be working on these 3 bolts on the turbo and the 2 bolts back there. We have 1 bracket on the trans right there. So once we get all that stuff dropped, we should be able to get the exhaust dropped off. Not sure if we need to take off this brace yet here, but we'll get to that once we get to that. But let's get working on these 3 bolts here. I already did spray them with PB Blaster. You should definitely spray them. They are pretty tough to get off. A lot of people on the previous model have broke the studs or something like that. But the P&L Jpipe comes with new hardware, new studs. So we'll see what happens with these studs, but we'll get everything off and we'll wait for our Jpipe to come. All right, we're back at the bench. We got the hardest part of the install done. 3 Jpipe bolts to the turbo off. So for the VB, there are only 3. You can see in that time lapse, I got 2 of them off, relatively easy. The bottom one was the easiest. This one I had to use 2 extensions and a swivel, and this guy stripped out. So I had to use this Rexbeti bolt extractor socket. So I will link these below because I feel like this is going to be a common issue. This car is garage kept. It has less than 6,000 miles on it, and this one was seized on, and maybe 30 minutes before we even started filming, I did spray the bolts with PB Blaster and everything just to try to make them easier to come off, but obviously one of them was pretty stubborn. This was the one, I'll show you guys in just a second, but this was the one on the top that has it has like a bracket on it under the water pump. But these Rexbeti sockets, you can see there's like teeth on them. So you kind of put it on, hammer it with just like a light little hammer, and it kind of digs in. So then when you try to remove it, it digs into the nut and just takes it right out. So obviously we had our 2 oxygen sensors taken off. They were 22 mils. So I got my wrench there. Let's go underneath and I'll show you guys the update. So this one was super easy to get off. The one back here, right there, that one wasn't hard, but we did have to get a extension through here. This guy though, seems like it'd be pretty easy to get to. It is easy to get to, straight access, but it did not want to come off. So it rounded off, and like I said, I had to just take off this little bracket, which there's a 14 up top, 10 mil right here. You can get up and you guys can see that. No, it's too tight to see up there, but you can see the bracket does move a little bit, so it does give you a little bit extra room up here. Once you get that bolt and this bolt off here. So we got 3 bolts off here, oxygen sensor right here, another O2 sensor right here. You can see the plug clipped on right here, and this is the plug right here. So just unplug it, unclip it, O2 sensor came out. And then on this side, get a better angle. There we go. On this side, super easy. O2 sensor is right here. We have 1 grounding strap that was right there. I put the bolt back in it so I don't lose that. And here is the plug right there for the O2 sensor right here. So just unplug it, take the O2s out, and then get those 3 bolts out. So next thing on the list, we got 2 bolts back there, 1 bolt right here, and then in theory, the whole thing could come out. I'm not sure if we need to take this off yet. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but 2 more bolts back there and 1 right here. Let's get to it. Now we have all the hardware off the J-pipe. We have the 3 bolts off the turbo, 1 for the bracket on the trans, and then 2 for the cat back. We have the ground strap taken off, and both of our O2 sensors are taken off as well. Our bracket up there for the water pump that I'll show you guys right here. The 14 right there, and the 10 right here has been taken off. So we are ready to drop this J-pipe. So I do think we need to take this brace out right here, just like it's resting on it right now. So I don't think I'm going to be able to wiggle it back and forth and try to get it like down. Maybe if you had a lift and you had a lot of extra room, but we are in the garage, we are on jack stands. So let's get this brace taken off. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like it's 5 or 6 bolts. So let's get these zipped off and we'll get this J-pipe taken off. All right, so we're back here at the bench. You can see we got our J-pipe taken off. That was a long little time lapse. Here's the intermediate pipe here. So did have some difficulty getting it off over here. So I ended up unbolting it at the intermediate pipe here. So that dropped, so I could only had to handle this instead of the whole pipe. I also wanted to show you guys my donut gasket. I get a lot of questions about, hey, did you get the 3-inch adapter for the NVIDIA catback? The answer is no, I didn't. I used the OEM donut. You can see there was no leak. This is just for me ripping it out right now, but regardless, like there's no leakage. So I didn't get any adapter or anything when I put the NVIDIA catback on. The factory donut gasket sealed up perfectly fine, no leaks. Well, back to this. I did have some difficulty getting this off up here. There were a couple extra brackets I want to show you guys. Got some better lighting for us. All right, now that we're under here, these are the 2 bolts right here that had a bracket on it. These are 14s. I had to get this taken off because it was blocking the 10 mil holding on this little heat shield for the water pump. I ended up putting it back on with the 2 10 mils just so I don't forget it. But anyways, I had to get that I had to get these 2 bolts taken off to get this shield off, and then I could just kind of wiggle it out. It was much easier once I got that intermediate pipe taken out. But other than that, all that we're waiting on is the J-pipe to arrive. So I'll get back to you guys once that arrives.
How are you today?
Doing good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good weekend.
All right, and here we have our P&L Jpipe. As you guys see, it just arrived. Did just take a little dinner break. Wife and me just got some sushi down the street. If you guys are in Wilmington, you should definitely check out this place called Dogori. Best sushi around. Anyways, here we have the P&L Jpipe. So this has one Jesse Cat up front. So I did pick this one over the ETS for a few reasons. One reason was because it does have one cat, and this is a 3.5-inch merge, and then this is 3-inch all the way back. So the current down pipes or J pipes that are out, it does have a 3-inch out into the cat and then 3-inch back. So I do like that this is just slightly bigger at 3.5 inches. You can see our cat right there. And then we have our oxygen sensor primary and secondary. We have that provision for the mount on the transmission. And then here's some of the hardware that we got. We got 2 gaskets, 4 bolts, and we got our OEM turbo 2 J-pipe gasket. So last thing I'm going to do before we get this thrown on, I'm just going to time lapse through this. Don't skimp out and get a no-name or a cheap brand of wrap, or if you want to do any type of thermal stuff. Some of the cheap stuff can catch on fire. I mean, I'm sure if you just Google exhaust wrap catching on fire, I'm sure you could find a bunch of stuff about it. But I like Thermal Zero. I've been using Thermal Zero on the BRZ. I wrapped it in same titanium exhaust wrap, and I also had a turbo blanket on the BRZ from Thermal Zero. I really think their quality is pretty good. So let me just time lapse through getting this front portion of the J-pipe wrap. I'm not going to wrap this back half. There's really no need. But this front half I do want to get wrapped up. Try to minimize any heat escaping and then coming up through the engine bay here. Plus, like you can see on the stock one, the stock does have like a lot of little heat shields and everything that do something. So might as well put an aftermarket version of heat insulation. So enough talking. Let me get you guys set up, and we're going to time lapse me getting this front section wrapped. Just like that, our J-pipe is wrapped. A nice tight wrap. There's a bunch of different ways to put on wrap. This is titanium wrap, so it's not the fiberglass wrap, so it's not necessary to wet the wrap, but I do like to spritz it. It does help keep all the fibers like on the wrap, because anyone that's ever wrapped an exhaust piece before knows how like fibrous this is, and it gets all over your hands, all over your pants and shirt. But just by using that like little spritz bottle and just spritzing it before we wrapped it, I mean, hands feel good, legs feel good, and then it does help get a little bit tighter wrap on it. So when you do start the car, obviously it will smoke just a little bit because this is brand new wrap, and since it's like wet, like just like damp, it might just burn a little bit of that off as well. But this definitely looks really nice. And then I just got our stainless steel clamps on each end. There's not really enough room to wrap anything on the collector. I couldn't really get too much more on that elbow there just because it would just bunch up right here, wouldn't fold correctly. But we got, what, 95% of it covered. You can't wrap the cat. The cats do get too hot, and putting on like an exhaust wrap directly and like over it and wrapping it could prematurely cause that cat to fail. So we're not going to do anything to the cat. We might do like a heat shield in the future. I know there's a bunch of aftermarket products that we can put like a heat shield on top just to prevent the heat transferring up and cooking anything above it. But yeah, you can't wrap the catalytic converter. So next step is to get this section onto the car. We're just going to slip this on with our new gasket, put our 3 new bolts in. I do have them threaded underneath the car, just made sure that they were the same thread pitch. Well, let me get you guys set up. We'll get this hung on the turbo and we'll get it bolted in. Let's go. right. Looks like we're all buttoned up down here. We got 3 bolts for the J-pipe bolted up. Both the O2 sensors plugged in and tight, and all of our hardware down there tight as well with our gaskets in all 3 spots. So I'm just mentally going through right now if there's anything else I need to do before we do a first start. But let me get you guys set up. We'll get this first started. I'll get you guys set up behind the car and I'll get the garage door open. So let's go. There you have it. This is the first start with the P&L catted J-pipe and the NVIDIA R400 catback exhaust. So I just went under and I checked for all the leaks. There are no leaks anymore. We had 1 leak on where the J-pipe met the intermediate pipe. The catback connection was good and the J-pipe to turbo was good as well. So I just had to snug up those 2 little bolts. All the leaks are fixed. So I just got to put the belly pan and that like plastic skid plate back on. Oh, and that brace. I'll put that brace up back on that we took off to put the J-pipe on. So other than that, we should be all set. Let me get this wrapped up and I'll get the car back on the ground. And just like that, everything's all buttoned up like we never touched it, except our nice new J-pipe from P&L. See the cat is up and back there. I do have the light shining here because I did want to show you guys one more thing. So right there you can see that's where our ground strap is. So I didn't show you guys where we moved the ground strap from the frame rail right to this exhaust runner right here. So you just take that bolt off, put it back on with the ground strap there and you're good to go. But everything else is all buttoned up. So it is pretty late. I'm just gonna get the car dropped on the ground. We'll pick this up in the morning. I did just get the car reflashed with our base tune. So I'm gonna be doing some logs and some revisions with Mikey tomorrow. But I wanna get another cold start for you guys with the car on the ground tomorrow once it's like daytime, so we don't wake up the neighbors or anything. But other than that, let me get the car back on the ground and I'll see you guys in the morning. That's all I got for you guys on this one. We did get that P&L catted J-pipe installed with that 3.5-inch merge collector. I did take my first cruise in it with this setup to Cars and Coffee. I did meet up with one subscriber, Jake, so shout out to Jake. Thanks for meeting up with me this morning. We're currently on a Mikey Botti base map. While I was going there, I did get my 5-minute cruise log, the 1-minute idle, and then I had to do a 3rd gear wide open throttle pull from 3000 till the new red line. And just preliminary reactions, it pulls hard. So stay tuned for more stuff on the 2022 WRX. I'll be doing a little bit more in-depth with the e-tuning once we get some more revisions, and I'll bring you guys along for the ride. So until next time, see you guys.